The ball comes in, and the clock hits triple zeros. How many different ways do you have to win games on the way to a championship? Tonight, in Game 2 of the NBA Finals, there was nothing pretty until the clock hit triple zeros. They wanted the Celtics battle-tested, and tonight, they get it. The final score in Game 2, Boston 105, Dallas 98.
There it is. And that's how we roll in here. Hello, everybody. Picks and roll. It's been a little bit. Sean Barnard, Sean Brace with you here, talking all things NBA Finals. Game 3 going down this evening in Dallas. Good afternoon, Sean. How we doing?
Doing well. I'm excited we finally have some basketball. It feels like it's been too long of a layoff in between games. So I've been annoyed by that spread out schedule, but excited to have some action back on the court tonight.
Yeah, the NBA Finals. You know what they do. They love to milk it. It's crazy because I thought about this from the Flyers' perspective more than the Sixers. And I'm saying to myself, like, oh, my goodness, could you imagine if the Flyers were still playing at this point in time and how much extra that is from the standpoint of just extra money in the workers' pockets, people that go in and serve you beers, popcorn, sodas to the people that are, in the entertainment side of it on a nightly basis, to the people that run, the pregame, postgame, to the rate, like just how much different that is from the standpoint of the season comes to an end versus let's extend this bad boy through four more series. And it's crazy to think like how much extra money that would put in some people's pockets. And that's where my money is,
Yeah. And like, as much as we obviously are talking about sports from the entertainment aspect or from the competition aspect for desire to win, it is a business at the end of the day. And that's why these teams, these owners are so intent on making the playoffs, making deep runs, because it is a ton of extra money that they do have access to. And that's why teams are willing to pay the luxury tax or go above certain aprons and those type of things. So there's definitely a business aspect to this that both the Mavericks and Celtics are benefiting quite a bit right now.
All right, Sean Barnard, let's do it. We got a big time game this evening, and it's do or die, because if Dallas loses this game, it's done. Even if they do find a way to win this game, I still don't think that they have enough in the tank to make this a series. But, look, hopefully I'm wrong on that. Hopefully everybody wants a series. I thought for sure we were going to get a good 6-game series out of these two teams. It has not been good, to say the least, from Dallas' side more than anything. And heck, even Boston struggled in game 2. We'll get into the big storyline today, and that's, of course, with Kristaps Porzingis, his health. And if he's not able to go, what does that mean for the Boston Celtics? Right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is showing Dallas listed as a 3-point home favorite. 213.5 is your total, and that one up a half tick essentially on the total from where it opened. And then from the spread perspective, 2.5 is what it opened at. Didn't hang there very long. Came immediately down to 1.5. Money came in on Boston. We understand why. I think it went as low as 1 on DraftKings, but now up to 3, and that is all because of Kristaps Porzingis and his health being up in the air at this point in time. I have to ask you though, Sean, because this team, the Boston Celtics, knows what it takes to win without Porzingis. I think they were 30-5 without him this season, and it was like 48-15 with him, something like that. I saw it on ESPN earlier today. So they know what it takes to win without Porzingis, and of course they went on a 3-game playoff or 3-series playoff run without him. So if he's unable to go tonight, I get it. On paper, it's a loss. It's absolutely a loss. But in that locker room, what's going on inside Boston's locker room if Porzingis cannot play?
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, my outlook on this is I think there's like 0 chance he plays. I personally think that he will be done for the series. I know that Boston's going to do this day-to-day dance and try and code it up like they're doing everything possible. And I'm sure, in fairness to Porzingis, they should be. And I'm sure he is trying to get healthy. But I would be really shocked if he stepped back on the floor again this season. Unfortunately for him, because he has had an incredible season, an incredible stretch, and is very important to the Celtics team. There's no doubt that the Celtics are still a very good basketball team without Kristaps Porzingis. But I do think having Porzingis on the floor is what makes this Boston team unsolvable. That I do think without him, there are ways where Dallas does have the counters to the sets that Boston want to run, the style that they do want to play with. Having that guy that is a true stretch big man that wants to play 5-out basketball, shoot from well beyond the 3-point arc, and then provide the rim protection that it does on the defensive end. That is what really elevated this team to the clear-cut championship favorites and best team in the NBA. They're still very good without him, but I think we're going to have a fight from here on out.
All right. Now, Sean Barnard, I hate to dive right into it, but when you come over the top of a social media post and you say Mavericks by 1 million tonight, let me tell you why. I want to hear this because I sure as hell don't believe it. But again, I want you to be right. I want you to be right. I did not want the Boston Celtics to win this series. I was fearful of here where we are. They were going to be dominating at home. 0-2 heading back to Dallas. You're going to have to get some production from Kyrie Irving. I'm not saying that that's a lost cause. I do expect him to play better. But, even myself, Sean, I was getting a little bit caught up in the atmosphere, in the fans, and what type of effect they had with Kyrie Irving. That's fine. I think there's truth behind that. But at the end of the day, the focus should remain on the defensive play by the Celtics guards. That's why, and you know this, you told me as much, that's why Kyrie Irving is truly struggling. So where does it change? Why all of a sudden is Kyrie going to be able to get it going tonight? Or do you have Luka scoring 85 by himself?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, you can't fake desperation. That there's no way to replicate having your back against the wall, being down 0-2, and I do think Dallas is going to feel those full effects. I do believe that the players not named Luka Doncic are going to have better games today. That I just refuse to believe that we'll go on for an entire series where Kyrie's playing as poor as he has been. There certainly is credit to be handed to Boston, how defensively they've been matching up, the size, the length, the athleticism that they have. I think not having Porzingis as the rim protector does open things up. That Kyrie's going to be in attack mode, looking to get to the rim a little more than he has been to this point. He's more been content with the jump shot and a lot of the mid-range, and frankly, just has not been able to get to his spots there. Now, I also think that Dallas benefits quite a bit on their defensive end by now having a true chance to play Lively and Gafford as more rim protectors. That yes, Al Horford will still let it fly from 3, but he's not this strike the fear into you the way that Porzingis has. So there's more that you can do defensively. I also think that there's not as much of a counter in the pick and pop situations that Dallas is going to have to defend. It plays to their strengths a ton to not have that level of magnitude of a floor spacer there. A couple stats for you here as well. The Mavericks this season, 21-12 against the spread with the lines between +3 and -3. They're also 39-24 against the spread as favorites this year. I also was shocked to find out this is only the 4th time all season that the Celtics are not favorites in a game. So kind of not a lot to go off from a sample size there. And that is telling to just how dominant they have been. I just don't see this series being a sweep or over in 4 games. If Dallas is going to get one, it feels like tonight. I think the role players respond. I think Kyrie has a punch back that he's not going to continue shooting 0 for 8 from 3. So I think the pieces come together and that Dallas does get one tonight.
4th time all season, not listed as a favorite. That is insane. What a season for the Boston Celtics. Good grief. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to, but any chance you could tell me the other games that I'm looking right now. Okay, so they were catching 3.5 against Sacramento on December the 20th.
Yeah, and that game was, so Jason Tatum got hurt the night before. They played at Golden State the night before, so a little bit of a spot play there, but they still did ultimately end up winning that game.
Yes, they did. Do you know the other 2?
I do not offhand. Let me see if I can find them again.
No, I'm looking right now. I got it too as far as in front of me as well. That is insane. Insane, Sean Barnard. I'm right now. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, I have to do a little bit of digging on that one. We'll tweet that out. Oh, I got it right here. I got 2 at Milwaukee on January the 10th. They lost outright. They ended up losing 135-102. The last time that the Boston Celtics were not listed as a favorite in a game. That is incredible. What a stat. What a stat. Would have been it? 2 right there back in January, or were they one? Were they dog? And yep, 3.5 right here. Milwaukee both times. So April the 9th, 2 times to Milwaukee, 1 time against Sacramento, and now today against the Dallas Mavericks is the 4th time that Boston has not been favored in the game. Insane. Good number there. Good stat by you. All right. Look, I think this team can win without Porzingis. I do know that he has been a true difference maker in the 2 games, filling it up on box scores. Of course, game 1 he came out, he was unconscious. It would have been a different ball game from the standpoint of it being in Dallas. We know the calls will change slightly. We also know the role players are going to continue to play better. But I just thought that Porzingis and what he was able to do clog up the defensive side, especially, we talked a lot about what Dallas wants to do on offense, play above the rim, the lobs, what they've been able to do all the way through the playoffs up until this point, and they haven't been able to get it going against Boston. So without Porzingis in there, it does open up the area just a bit as far as Dallas penetrating. Now, we talked a lot about Kyrie. What are we expecting from Luka tonight? Because he was the one that's been dealing with this rib injury. He's wrapped up like he's 60 years old on the sideline. We know he's a gamer. We know he's going to get out there, but this is a guy that hasn't scored under 30 in the finals so far through 2 games. Should we expect that same type of output this evening for Luka?
Yeah, I think you have to. That I certainly have my concerns, my doubts about his level of health. I know he's expected to get a numbing injection before tonight's game, as he did before game 2 as well. That's not ideal when you're dealing with the laundry list of issues that he currently is, with the rib injury, with the knee injury, with the ankle injury. There is a point where that just weighs on you, having all those things to deal with. But he's Luka Doncic, man. He's still playing at such a high level. He's been very good through both of these first 2 games. And in game 2 specifically, I thought he had that look in this eye of, I'm refusing to lose this game, which we've seen him pull out that card before. As long as he's on the floor and doing his thing, I'm expecting nothing less than the high-level player that he's proven to be. So the injuries are absolutely a factor. I'm hoping that there is more help from the supporting cast where he does not have to shoulder quite as much weight as has been the case such far, but I do think that he will ultimately be just fine tonight.
All right, let's keep it moving. And we talked a lot about Dallas so far. Let's get it back over to Boston. And I think, it's not like Tatum didn't want to go out there and score points. The shots weren't falling for him. He did take a significant amount of shots through 2 games. So here we are, game 3. And you know what they say about home and away. When you're away or when you're playing home, the role players play better. And I thought that Boston did get a lot of production from their role players, and not even so much there. It's just the standpoint of Tatum allowing other players to do their thing with the focus on him more so. Now, I do expect Tatum to hit the gas pedal tonight. How do you view Jason Tatum and his approach this evening? Do you think we'll see any change? Do you think he's going to put it on his back a little bit more, knowing that Drew Holiday just went off for 26, so maybe there might be some adjustments in that side from Jason Kidd and the Dallas Mavericks? Therefore, Tatum's going to have the green light all evening long.
Yeah, I've kind of flip-flopped on this, that I certainly think that Jason Kidd is playing some mind games trying to get Jason Tatum to play a little bit out of the flow of what is just his normal style of basketball. I do think Tatum is in his own head a little bit. I think it's a little bit funny how the narrative has shifted to he's being this playmaker, this team guy, when the reality is he's just not shooting the ball well. From the first 2 games of this series, he shot 6 for 16 in game 1 and 6 for 22 in game 2. That's 31% combined. We're talking 4 of 14 from 3. That's just not efficient shooting. Now, Tatum has been very good otherwise as a playmaker, as a rebounder, as a defender. He shined in all those areas. It's not like he's playing bad basketball, but I do think it's pretty far from the truth to play it or portray it as if he's playing passive basketball. Now, I do think ultimately
12 assists though, 12 assists in game 2. So it's kind of like, you're right. And that's why I put that out there. Look at the percentages. He's struggling to score. He's still taking the shots, but at the same time, 12 assists is 12 assists. And he was hooking up Drew Holiday with some easy buckets in game 2.
Yeah, for sure. I think he certainly played better than probably the discussion points on him are indicating, but he hasn't been the Jason Tatum. And when Jason Tatum is fully clicking as a basketball player, it starts with his scoring. That's what everything creates off, that he's a score-first player who can play make off that. It doesn't work quite as well in the inverse for him specifically here. So I do think Tatum snaps out of it at some point. He'll have at least one game where it is a Jason Tatum game where he's looking like the finals MVP best player. I'm not optimistic that is tonight. I do think there are some real things that he's addressing more so on kind of the mental side of things and finding his stride in this series. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think tonight's the night that Tatum bursts out.
26.5 is your player prop on DraftKings Sportsbook. Jaylen Brown, 23.5 there. As far as Drew Holiday at 13.5 and just coming off being the leading scorer in the game with 26 for Boston. Luka at 32.5. That's up a point from what it normally was. And Kyrie Irving, come on down. Kyrie, 23.5.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about any of those names right there with the points? Who do you expect to hit their green check mark as far as their player point prop?
I still like the Jaylen Brown over at 23.5, that I think he's just going to be pretty much as steady. I know he finished with 21, so a little bit of a dip in that last game, but I do think that he'll be in attack mode and continue to be the Jaylen Brown we know. I do lean towards the under on Jason Tatum, that I just don't think that he's going to have that level of pop, although I do like the over first quarter 6.5 points for Tatum. I could certainly see him coming out in attack mode early. A guy that you didn't mention that I do like is PJ Washington over 14.5 tonight. I think tonight is one of those where they're going to have to lean on the supporting cast. Washington has shot the ball much more poor than has been the case. Like, this was a guy who hit 5 3-pointers in back-to-back games during that Oklahoma City series. He's only attempted a handful so far. He was 0 for 2 last game, 1 for 3 in game 1. I think he lets it fly a little bit more from deep. I know that Boston has done a nice job cutting off the corner 3, but Washington's a guy I think they're going to make an effort to get involved, and I do think that he clears that 14.5 number tonight.
All right. And anything from the standpoint of first quarter, or the total as a whole, are we feeling like this is going to be an up and down game? Do we feel like, you know what, these two teams are banged up, so maybe slow things down a little bit? Where do we stand as far as production across the board?
I expect an early pop from Dallas for them to look to grab a lead early. So I do like the first quarter numbers. Looking at Dallas's perspective, that could be worth playing there. I don't think the game ever gets out of reach in either direction. I don't think Dallas quite has that level of ability to put away this Celtics team. So I expect them to be in it from start to finish, and this be a game that still comes down to the wire. But I do like Dallas in the first quarter and like Dallas straight up. So that would be the direction from that side of things.
PJ Washington, 2.5 points in the first quarter. Might take the
like
over
that
on
as
that
well.
one. Yeah, take the over on that one. All right. Again, a lot to choose from over here at DraftKings Sportsbook. And I'm almost nervous to ask this, but you're going with Dallas. You're going to give the 3 points, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
All right. And then what are we talking about the winning margin here is concerned?
So kind of the story of this series to me is the way I've looked at things is I think Boston wins every game that they're able to build up enough of a lead and kind of keep it at arm's length. Any game that comes down to crunch time, I just trust this Dallas team more to execute. And that's in favor of Dallas for how good they've been in those moments. And in the other direction, how much that we've seen Boston struggle in those types of situations. I think tonight's going to be one of those stories where it comes down to the wire and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are capable of snatching the soul from Boston right in front of them there. So I think ultimately the game probably ends in like a 5-point to 7-point victory, but it is going to be a game that I think comes down to the final 2 minutes for sure.
All right. I'm right there with you. I hope you're right. I hope it's the case. I hope that we actually get a series, and we need Dallas to win tonight to get to that point. I definitely disagree with you from the Tatum perspective. I think Tatum is going to try to put this on his back, and they're going to fall for him tonight. I don't know why I feel that way. I just think he's too good of a player to continue to score at 30% shooting throughout the course of the NBA Finals with the light shining the brightest. So I like him to go on the road, be a terror this evening. So give me the over on Tatum. I do like your PJ Washington. You know, I'm a big fan of that, especially with 14.5. And who knows what type of effort Luka's going to be able to give. Luka, if he's not 85% Luka, this could get ugly for Boston. I really do think that, but we'll see. Maybe Kyrie's got a 25-point first half at home since he's comfortable. Looking forward to it, though. It's going to be a lot of fun this evening. All right, any same game parlay you're eyeing up here for us this evening?
I don't have one finalized just yet.
Okay.
I do lean towards. I've been looking at the Derek Lively over 14.5 points, rebounds, assists a decent bit. I think he's going to be unlocked a little more tonight. He's been pretty out of control and just not great through the first 2 games. I think he's too good of a player not to find his stride. And I think he's helped by Porzingis being out. That I think Kristaps not being in the lineup opens up the possibility for Dallas to start to lean on this above the rim actions where they're throwing lobs, getting these guys on pick and roll, backdoor cuts, and those types of things. So I think Lively might come alive in this game. I'm looking at his direction to over 14.5 in the combos department as well.
All right, let's go Mavericks. This is a Pro Mavericks podcast right here.
Right.
Picks and roll. We'll see how this one plays out, but I think Tatum's going to have himself a big game. I also think Jaylen Brown plus 140 for NBA at this point in time as well. Long way to go. 2 games to none right now. Boston with the lead. We shall see how this one plays out this evening. Once again, game 3, 8:30 p.m. Check out what DraftKings has to offer. All you new users, use Brace as the promo code. Let them know that you're listening to us here on The Gambler. Sean, before you get out of here today, Jerry West unfortunately passed away. I believe 86 years old. That's a hell of a life, man. And that dude was so dedicated to the game of basketball through and through. Of course, the logo itself, NBA champ, finals MVP from the losing team too. Something we discussed here. 14-time All-Star every single year he played. 9 finals appearances. Highest series point per game, 46.3. 12-time All-NBA player and a hell of an executive as well. Built Shaq and Kobe with the Lakers and had a little bit of a role with the Golden State Warriors. Don't really know too much on the details on that one to get too much into specifics, but an absolute legend, an absolute icon in the game of basketball. And man, we've lost 2 of them pretty soon here, pretty close together, and Bill Walton and Jerry West. Not cool at all, but a hell of a life by Jerry West.
Yeah, super sad stuff for sure. And there truly are very few guys under you can count on one hand who have impacted the sport of basketball more than Jerry West, beyond just being the logo, doing it as an actual player, as an executive. Trading for Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal in the span of a week is an absurd run to go on as an executive there. So he is the man. He's been around forever. Still a guy who's pretty active in the NBA world. So super sad, and obviously sending the best for his family there.
All right. Great stuff as always. Sean Barnard, make sure you're following him on all things socials. Sean_Barnard1. That is the number 1. Enjoy the games. We'll be back tomorrow to recap it right here in the Daily Ticket. But let's go Mavs.
Yes, sir. Let's go Mavs.
There he is. That's Sean Barnard. Once again, picks and roll. You missed anything, be sure to get on over to our website at foxphlgambler.com.